Thank you. Thank you, Ferry. Thank you for this introduction, and it's a very tough job for me after all these speeches. Very interesting, and I'm very honored to be taking part in this official opening keynote of the European Utility Week here in Amsterdam, and I would like to thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm always very excited to come to the European Utility Weeks, and especially this year to take part in this opening, like my estimated colleagues who have just intervened. I think it's really fundamental to share and exchange, as we did this morning, and even confront our strategic vision. As you all know and understood, utilities in Europe live an era of transformation unprecedented, and so I would try to expose in more detail in my intervention how my vision is. I would like to apply it to my company. Let me ask also that it is important to have a forum such as the one offered by the European Utility Week so that we can meet regularly to gauge the challenges facing us, the progress that each organization is making and the achievements made collectively. And I also believe that it's a unique place to affirm the vitality, the dynamism of our companies, and especially European companies in our sector, and more generally our ambition, European ambition in terms of energy transition. As you understood, I'm the chairman of the executive board of ENEDIS. It's the main French DSO, and also I'm the leader of the French Association for Smart Grids. So I'll try to give you my view through a testimony of a major European DSO, which is ENEDIS, and the particular place that DSOs occupy in the new value chain of the electricity sector. First of all, I would say that I think it might be probably presumptuous to say today that we have a clear understanding of what will be the business model of DSO by 2025. On one side, it's a very long-term 2025 vision. If we listen to what's said this morning, our colleague from Enel, so we know that innovation is running faster and faster year after year. And on the other side, you all know that our business is a very capital-intensive business. 8 years is finally a short lead time for our business. And also when you deal with local authorities and customer behavior, it's also something that takes place to be really settled in our new environment. So that's why on our horizon for external strategic environment changes, I believe that we know now, and this morning I think concluded like that, that we rather know the main external drivers of transformation, and we know rather well these distinctive drivers, and we have a rather good understanding. I would like to focus especially on the evolution of customer needs and expectations. You know all that the vast majority of customers are waiting for, with the digitalization, for immediately available solutions, customization of the offer. So one size doesn't fit all, you know, all know that. And it's obviously something also true for the DSO business. The evolution of customer behavior too, from consumer to prosumer, consumer communities and local communities are more and more willing to have on hand locally energy mix, renewable energy mix, and they are ready to pay for that. All the inquiries show that. The massive development also of self-consumption, individual and collective. Today, more than 1.5 million auto producers in Germany, 750,000 in Italy, and in France we estimate that we could reach close to several million self-consumers by 2025, mainly connected to the low voltage network. And of course, we learned a lot this morning about decarbonation of transport through the development, of course, of electric mobility, autonomous and shared. So all European car makers now have by the end of 2018 will include EVs in their catalog due to European emission regulations And in addition, these manufacturers could accelerate their priority based on expected reduction in battery cost, as it was said this morning. France is planning 5 million rechargeable electric or hybrid vehicles and up to 7 million charging points by 2030. The stakes for the energy transition are significant. Lower CO2 emissions, 40% by 2030, NOx minus 72%, and fine particle, etc. So the vehicle-to-grid is one also of the next challenge through decarbonization of transport. All these external factors will have an impact on our business model, it's obvious. This deformation, this evolution are already identified and confirmed. And for example, we all know that the integration of renewable energies, more than 20 gigawatt, for example, connected in France on the medium and low voltage networks. This requires the development of a new distribution, and I mean distribution system operator, DSOs, that requires the implementation of new predictive management tools, of real-time operation, whether on medium and low voltage networks, to be able to integrate massive renewable generation and operators. Technological developments also over the whole data chain, and the regulatory requirements of open data imply the development of a data operator function. This is a huge transformation in our business, and we must comply with it in a very short time. In parallel, major transformations are already underway, with several industrial mass-scale rollouts of smart grid solution, with the installation of different sensors on different elements of the network, including on low voltage networks. And if you want, you can visit on our Smile and Flex grid projects in France, how they are now totally integrated at a regional scale. These two examples are very significant of the speed of that transformation we have to face. Smart metering system. By 2021 in France, we will have equipped 35 million delivery points with the new meters, which is called Linky in France. We are now up to date with more than 6 million. It was only 2 million last year in the European Utility Week in Barcelona, with a rhythm of more of 25,000 a day. This is transformation is on the way. Digital tools and data management. We already manage these numbers are huge. We already manage more than 300 million data a day and 1 million networks events per day at ENEDIS. And it will be 10 times more by 2021. With the smart meters and other connected objects, with different sensors placed on medium voltage and low voltage grids, we definitely entered on an era of the era of big data. In 2025, we'll have totally change of scale in terms of IT infrastructure to support this volume of data. In parallel, we have already been involved for several years in the publication of open data. This is also a huge way to transform also our environment access to energy. Last month, we have just created, for example, in France, with over 170 French electricity and gas distribution companies, a joint agency to ensures the pooling of resources dedicated to digital in order to facilitate the steps taken by the actors of the energy system in new market mechanisms, as well as public as private actors, notably in access to the data necessary for steering their actions in the service of energy efficiency. Very concretely, we will pool our expertise on new market mechanisms and associated data processing algorithms. These are new scales for our business. And of course, because we have also to deal with new application for customers, for services to customers, for services to suppliers which are integrating our network. And this is not a problem. It's much more an opportunity for our business toward these new experience at the scale of 2025. So I would say that on one side, as a result, the DSO 2025 is on its way, with some already anticipated evolution on our business model, of course. The role of DSOs will evolve with grids and IT platforms, as we said, that will provide more differentiated services. Not only access to the grid, as we know, but also providing capacity, 24-hour 24 hours, all the week long, night and day, even without wind. New flexibilities, new services, new use of flexibilities for participants to the market, providing data to all parties of customers, to generators, to local authorities, to big cities, etc., for their energy policies. So, this is our challenge, but now the implementation is probably the next step we have to deal with, because, as I said, 2025 is tomorrow. So I think we have to deliver now, and this is our challenge, of course. We have to be able to gather in our hands the means to be able to achieve by 2025 such an important revolution in our environment. This is the main challenge today for the network and data operators that we are. The internal transformation that I have just mentioned, smart grids, smart meters, data management, are not a goal in themselves. They are tools that must meet the expectation, of course, of customers, of stakeholders, of all the new environment that we described this morning. So, let me quote some of the challenges arising in front of us on the road to 2025. One of the challenges is to ensure that tools we developed are customer-oriented and meet other stakeholders' expectations. Our former speaker told that, are we right on the right tools? Are we on the right business models? With massive rollouts of smart solutions, we're answering smart, of course, hardware aspect of things. This is very necessary, of course, but it's not sufficient, as we must also facilitate the development of softwares, of new solutions, meeting customer expectations, between new time scale, between the time to market, in fact. A second challenge is to have on the road to 2025 relevant economic signals through appropriate market design, regulation, and tariffs, especially for regulated entities, of course, like ours, all concerted, and this is very important. Just notice that since the European Utility Week in Barcelona last year, the EC Clean Energy Package was released on 30th of November 2016 for a decision in 2019, and it will govern the functioning of the electricity market until 2030. Regulation, tariffs and market designs must take into account technological developments, of course, consumer expectation, and the need for increased visibility for utility operators and their investors and shareholders in a context with disruption. Such disruption which have never been so strong, because as I said, our industry is capital intensive. This is a very, very important challenge for us. So the correct regulation could be in allowing experimentation, allowing to operate with very new models in limited durations. There's also a need for an appropriate market design for innovations such as storage. It was very present in all the different speeches this morning, for example. A contrario, the absence of framework reduces the visibility of the potential developer of the storage. Some evolution of the network operators' tariff structure may be also part of the agenda, especially avoiding cross-subsidies between different categories of customers. The intrinsic risk of the activity of DSO and more generally of traditional utilities is increasing. It's not because our activity is regulated or legal monopoly that is protected forever or not arbitrable, but competition are powerful challenges. Financial resources will only, of course, make available for 2025 our new horizon. Investment, as I said, in our industry are huge, especially in IT, in addition to what the investment on the networks. The current rate of renewal of the existing infrastructure will still be, of course, something central in our evolution and ability to address these new challenges. The order, you know, it very well is 1% per year in the distribution networks. Renewal requirements are particularly important in the old city centers, which are now focusing very hardly these new challenges in big cities, and where it's very difficult to carry out massive works. Also the need of connection, of course, of renewable energy, storage terminals, Ongoing investments, of course, in smart meters, which is a huge investment, smart grids, IT, sensors, etc. ENEDIS is spending more or less 3.2 billion euros a year. That might be probably something that will continue and probably raise on next year to be able to address this huge challenge. As I said, we're a very capital-intensive industry in the long term. Our cycles are long. You all know that. They are much shorter, for example, in other sectors like telecoms. But in power grids, they still are long cycles in investment. But grid utilities in front of such a challenge must keep attractive for private capital because they offer a physical counterpart in the long term for a profile of long-term investors. This is a challenge for regulation. This is a chance for remunerating at the right level our capital. Stability also, stability of regulatory framework, pricing visibility will play an important role in their valuation in multiples, of course, of EBIT or EBITDA and their ability to attract capital and investors. Finally, what I'd like to say is also that we can build this future not only on betting on what will innovation bring us. It's something, obviously, I will take a moment on that, but also on our strengths, because we have strengths just to address such a challenge, such an ambition. To be on target on 2025 to succeed in this challenge, my conviction is that we must rely on these strengths, and I will today emphasize just on some of them. The first of one is that the world has changed, as we said this morning, but alone, I would say, a utility or a DSO, even a big DSO, will not succeed. We need to play the game collectively, as I say at the beginning of my speech, and this is the right place to be, just to be able to address such a challenge. We need to play the game collectively. First, as operator, I think it's vital to promote a new industrial sector too. Many of you are representing this sector. It's both the responsibility of an operator and also it's vital. An operator is at the crossroads of several industrial sectors whose competitive environment is global. I'm thinking in particular of smart grid sector, of course. In France, for example, we have structured this association, Think Smart Grid, which brings together more than 100 partners, among which TSOs, manufacturers, power equipment manufacturers, startup, university, research centers. You have many of them in the French pavilion today. And this is absolutely fundamental if we want to succeed in our development and in our way also to address this worldwide market, which is smart grid market. The digital sector also in France, grouped under the label French Tech, we work extensively with their industry players and startups. Sector of renewables, of course, renewable generators, and other sectors which are our partnerships, like financial partners also on this side. So this is my first message, which is let's work and play collectively. The second strength, which is directly linked to the first one, is that we must share. We must share our issues, we must share experiences, we must share results, as we did this morning and as we will keep on doing during these days. This is already the case for many years, of course, in European projects and demonstrators financed by the European Commission. In France, ADEME, in Germany, ARENA is also participating on that. And we're still advancing on this sort of projects which are fundamental to be able to address these new challenges. DSOs are key assets for the successful transition of energy in Europe. I told that, I hope I convinced you. Thus contributing to the political goals of the energy Europe and the quality of the environment for all Europeans. And I would like to express my great satisfaction to see that the very active cooperation between DSOs within EDSO for smart grids is now something running well, and Christian Buchel, which is there, is leading it. And I think it's something which is relevant and which is something that also is probably key just to be able to address these new local challenges. Also, I quoted earlier the initiative of an agency that gathers more than 170 gas and electricity distributors in France just to be able to address the pooling of resources to address digital challenges. The third strength I would like to point out is open innovation. I used to say that one single company is no more able to address the challenges of innovation today. because of money and because of time. If we want to be really on the time to market, we have another time to play collective through especially innovation. We learned a lot this morning on the speed about the innovation challenges, so we have to contribute as a global operator, as an important company, to the dynamism of startup ecosystems and create job for tomorrow in Europe. And the fourth aspect I would like to point, just to conclude my speech, is people. People. Because sometimes it's easy to deal with innovation, to present technological issues. But just try to imagine that, for example, for a company within ENEDIS, 38,000 people, the change is enormous. It's a huge challenge to be able, within a few years, because 2025 is tomorrow, as I said, just to be able to address new agility within the company, new way for management, new way for developing innovation, new way for developing new customer way of managing our processes. So I think also we can learn a lot with this sort of seminar, with the summit, just to be able to strengthen our own way to address and to get more agility, more customer experience, and be able so to address our new challenge. So as a conclusion, there is still much to be done. It's something obvious. But we have no time to lose. European DSOs have a global responsibility in the context of climate agreements. Just see the next COP23, which starts in a little more than a month in Bonn, if I don't make any mistake. The timing is tight, and there is no option. We need to both focus on the necessary massive rollout of smart solutions in compliance with time and budget trajectories, and on new market design, regulation, and economic signals in order to get the right economic signals on time. And to paraphrase a certain European president, responding to another president, I believe that European utilities are ready to make our planet great again. Thank you for your attention.